It's really changed the information and resources that we can supply to our country programs. Introduction decisions are made at the country level. However, now we have the product in our own catalog and technical resources to support countries who decide to move forward with scaling up the hormonal IUD.
I think the true success for the integration of this method into programs and making it available more broadly will be driven by governments and providers. And I think those countries where success will be most rapid will be driven by local product champions who understand the attributes of in the various LMICs. So in my mind, the evolution of the global coordinators will be precisely that, an evolution where we facilitate, we coordinate, we provide technical assistance, training, and ensure availability of commodities, as well as continuing to expand knowledge and evidence.
I think the global coordination effort should shift to monitoring efforts coming up in countries that should impact forecasting. Be a conduit of information from the manufacturers to countries, and be looking for research and research utilization opportunities.
Some of the barriers to access have to do with addressing the conundrum of demand and cost, which is to make sure that we have a high enough demand to support a low cost and a low enough cost to support a high demand. And so investments by donors and pharmaceutical companies to try to bridge that divide, I think, will prove to be extremely successful over the short and medium term to make this method more widely available. I think the second thing that we need to always remember is how important having an array of contraceptive choices is for users, and that every time that women are given an additional choice or more options for contraception, that a higher percentage of women take up and need and use contraception, which indicates that the fact of offering choices actually enables access.
The next barrier to introduction for the countries who've started to launch are really problem solving down to the service delivery sites and creating awareness about the hormonal IUD's availability. And not just availability, but exactly where it's available. Countries who've made the decision to introduce will need to keep informed of local challenges and come up with solutions that fit their context.
I think there are a variety of barriers that include commitment of governments to support provider training and of governments and donors to fund commodities, as well as to ensure that the commodities get to the right places and don't stay in warehouses. I also think there continues to be some need for demand creation, given that some of the specific characteristics of this approach, including the marked reduction in bleeding, as well as the need for pelvic exams during insertion, could create some barriers.
Part of the many healthcare providers believe that women in low and middle income countries don't like amenorrhea, but nobody asks. It's true that many women in low and middle income countries believe that bleeding every month is healthy. But this was 30 years ago. And the people continue to talking about exactly the same. And it is not true, because today, all the women, even the poorest, have a cellular phone and have an Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and I don't know, TikTok, whatever. And they obtain information immediately. They are inserted in the medial network and they receive information every day about the benefit of the hormonal IUD, the benefit of other contraceptive methods. Consequently, the healthcare provider are the principal barrier to expand the hormonal IUD. And I think so it is very important to work with healthcare providers, providing lecture materials in different language, a small pamphlet, nothing big.
The other element that is important, I think, in terms of making sure that there really is a full set of choices is that we need to think about gender equity in the provision of contraceptive services. And we need to think about the male's role in contraception and have more male contraceptive methods, because this is not a conversation that should reside only with women. And the fact that the burden, so to speak, of contraception falls mostly on women, I think is one of the limiting factors in achieving true gender equity and contraceptive access for people around the globe.
In my opinion, the future of the hormonal IUD is fantastic, because will be improved and growing every day.
I think the future for the hormonal IUD is really bright. I always tell people that I love all safe and effective methods. This is just one method that we have in our toolbox. However, this one is a little bit special in my mind in that it has been popular in wealthy countries for decades. I think there's a real equity issue here. And now we have a chance to offer this method to many more women who could benefit from having another long-acting method, and also addresses issues like heavy bleeding and potentially anemia risk.
In an ideal world, it would be available to whoever needs it. And hopefully, as we continue generating evidence, I would also like to foresee a situation where it can be used for longer than now. Also thinking around when you look at postpartum and post-abortion family planning, I also think that this is going to be helpful. So I see perhaps potentially in the future, this method also contributing a larger proportion of methods that women who are going home with a method after childbirth or even after miscarriage or abortion, having an increase, increasing with time as we figure out how to address postpartum and post-abortion family planning.
In a world where our global goal is that everyone should have the ability to decide whether and how many children they want to have, this is one very, very critical tool in the arsenal, so to speak, that will allow people to have on a very long-acting basis, an increasingly long-acting basis, the ability to control their own fertility. And that is a goal that is a shared global goal, and the hormonal IUD is going to be a major part of achieving that goal, so that we have as many people in the world as possible having access to modern methods of contraception and the ability to choose the method that works for them.
The hormonal IUD is unequivocally a transformative approach to contraception. And the time is now, because it's been 30 years since this product was introduced in other developed countries. It provides proven health benefits and can improve quality of life for millions of women. It's a long-term, highly effective method, and I think it's been transformative. And I'd like to see that happen everywhere in the world and have women everywhere have access to this approach.